Hello, my name's Mary English, and in today's podcast, we're on podcast number 14. I'm going to be talking about Pluto, and as I mentioned last week, and sorry I'm a day late today, but I've been rather busy. As I mentioned last week, we're going to devote a bit more time because today we're talking about a very, 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 very important planet, which is Pluto. Now, I've got personal experience of Pluto. I've got Pluto in my first house. And Pluto's the most distant planet in our solar system, so it's one that's furthest away from Earth. And there's, oh God, the astronomers, they got themselves all worked up a while back and said it wasn't a planet. We couldn't call it a planet because of some reason or other, and they called it a dwarf planet. And we've changed that now, and they've made it back to being a planet again. So I don't know what categories they're using to describe whether or not something is or isn't a planet. But as far as astrology is concerned, it's something that orbits the sun. And trust me, Pluto does orbit the sun. Now, unlike other planets, it doesn't go round and round the sun in circular motion. So it isn't as if you could look at the orbit of the sun in the centre. Sorry, have the sun in the centre, and then you could see Pluto orbiting around it, in a nice circular motion. It doesn't. It actually orbits in a curve. So you get a sort of a avocado, sort of elongated shape of the way that it orbits around the sun. So consequently, when it goes into certain signs of the zodiac, it'll stay there for a lot longer than others. And it was discovered by an American who was working in an observatory, and he spotted it by using some sort of computers. And I think he was just a little, what's the word now? He was sort of like, I used to call him YTS. I think he was just somebody that was there helping. He wasn't the actual, owner of the observatory or even one of the bosses. He was one of the little minions. But he's sort of devoted rather a lot of his spare time and energy to discovering. Anyway, it was him that found it. And just so you know, Pluto the planet isn't named after any Disney characters at all. That's a totally untrue thing. Pluto got its name because there was a chappie in England. You can find all this information on Wikipedia, but there was a chappie in England who was also mates with the person that worked at the observatory in America, and he telegraphed him, because don't forget this is a long time ago before mobile phones, or even telephones for that matter, sent him a telegraph message to say that he'd discovered it. And the chappie in London said, oh, they've found a new planet, that's interesting. And he chatted it through with his daughter. And his daughter said, because she was studying Greek mythology at school, she thought, oh, why don't we call this new planet Pluto? Because she was terribly into Greek mythology. So that's how Pluto got its name. It's by a little girl who mentioned the name to her dad, who then telegraphed, I think he was a reporter of the Times or something, telegraphed the name over to the observatory in America. And so that's the true story of Pluto. Now, as far as astrologers go, because it's a recent discovery, don't forget this lady who was the daughter, I think she's only just recently died, so she was something like in her 80s, but she's either very elderly or has just recently died. And the last time I checked, I think she was still alive, but she was in her 80s. So excuse me if you're still alive, I apologise. So it was discovered at least 70 years ago, because she was only a teenager, or a little tiddler when, but she was learning stuff at school when it was discovered. And so what did astrologers make of it? This is a planet that's at the end of our solar system. It's millions of light years away from us here on Earth. What's it all about? And after careful calculation and observation, as astrologers are good at, they decided that the sort of keywords that would go and fit with using Pluto in the chart is about deep change and transformation. Now, keeping in mind that Pluto is very, very distant in our solar system, it's a long, long way away, it doesn't have a direct effect on us, it is an outer planet, it's not a little fluffy thing like the Moon or Mercury, and the nature of its orbit as well being very, not erratic, but strange shape to it, so it will be in one sign more than another. Everyone in your year at school will have Pluto in the same sign, and they will also have, the people in your class at school will have their other outer planets in the same sign. And because it moves so slowly, it's almost unimperceptible to, feel, sit around thinking, oh, can I feel Pluto in my chart? No, you won't be able to feel it, because it affects generations of people rather than people individually. So if you read that fabulous book, Cosmos and Psyche by Richard Tarnas, I really, really recommend that if you're into astrology, or even just a teeny bit into astrology, because he explains all about revolutions and country discontent. it's all to do with Pluto and Uranus. They're the two planets that, I don't say they cause it, but they reflect what happens to us on Earth. Now, if you were born in the 80s, you will have Pluto. So 80s and early 90s, I think that's right. 80s and early 90s, I'm sure. Pluto is in the sign of Scorpio. I'm sure that's right. I'll double check in a minute, but it's either late 80s or early 90s or both. 80s and 90s, because it's such a slow mover. It was in the, yes, because it's in the sign of Capricorn now, so I bet about right. Anyway, it's the planet that looks after Scorpio. So if you are a Scorpio and you were born in the 80s, 90s, you will have Pluto very, very near to your sun sign. And a conjunction of Pluto to your sun it's a whopper. You know, if your Pluto is very, very near to your sun sign, you're not going to live an ordinary life, and especially not if it's in the sign of Scorpio, because Pluto is the planet that looks after Scorpio. So if you think of keywords for Scorpio like secrecy and trust and, you know, wanting to do deep, dark, dangerous, transforming things, that's the same energy as Pluto. And if your sun sign is in Scorpio, your Pluto's in Scorpio, and the two things really together, you're an unexploded bomb lying around, or a volcano or something. So you do need to keep in mind that it'll take you a long time for things to build up. Then they're all going to explode. Now, there are two symbols for Pluto. So when you make your chart up on astro.com, one of them looks like a P. Easy, P for Pluto. The other one looks like a stick with a curve at the top and a ball in it. So it sort of looks like a stick with a ball. I was just trying to think, it might sort of look a little like, you know, those things that you see the Lord Chancellor or something in Parliament wandering around with, and he's got a sort of a stick with a ball on top. That's what Pluto looks like. But anyway, that's the symbol for it. It's either a letter and it looks like a P with a stick at the end, or it's a stick with a cross on it and a curve and a ball at the top. It depends what computer program you're using, and also where else does it depend on? I think most people use the stick thing. I don't know too many people that use the P thing. Do you know, I don't even know what they do on astro.com. Let's have a look. For Pluto, they are using the P. Yeah, looks like there's a P. But there is another symbol as well, so just keep that in mind. Now, the reason I said we're going to talk a little bit more about Pluto is that, please, I need you to understand this planet. It's so important, because so many people ignore it. Oh, it's in the distance of our solar system. It doesn't affect us. Well, it might not affect you, but it does affect, maybe affect is the wrong word, but it does reflect the psyches of an awful lot of people. And I am going to use one of the charts for my kind volunteers, and one is Rachel, and in her chart she's got her Pluto and her Uranus conjunct, and that sort of happened in the 60s. That's something that just happened. It was in the sign of Virgo. But her sun sign is Aquarius, so that's fine. But she has her moon in Pisces. She's also got her Venus there and her Chiron there, and that's about it. Venus, Moon and Chiron are all in Pisces. Oh, and her Mercury. And they are all opposite her Pluto and her Uranus in the sign of Virgo. Now, if you just had Pluto and something else in opposition to each other, that's okay, but she's got a cluster of 4 planets opposite 2 outer planets. So she's fine and cushy, sun sign Aquarius, free, gonna do my own thing, until she loses the plot and gets emotional about something. And then she's going to swing from these deep, dark, emotional things, because the Pluto energy, if you could imagine, you know, think of Hades. You know, Pluto's all about the underworld and those deep, dark places that we don't want to go to. So that'd be sort of like going to YouTube, and I had a client that did this once. He got Moon Pluto conjunction. He was forever going to YouTube and watching really scary videos about you know, mind control, and David Icke talks about, I don't know, the lizards and stuff. It's like, don't do it, it's bad for your health. I'm sure an awful lot of those ISIS terrorists, the ones that watch the videos of people having their heads chopped off, I'm sure they've got Pluto things going on. Anyway, too much Pluto is very unhealthy. On the positive side, which everything can have a positive outlook, it can bring you the ability to withstand a deep amount of pressure and stress and still go and bounce about afterwards. So as a very kind volunteer, we have Rachel's chart, but I'm also going to use two charts that you'll be able to call up on astro.com, because obviously I can't share a client's chart with you because that's just not confidential. But if you go to Astro Databank, so it's astro.com, so it's astro.com/astro dash data bank, and search for Miley Cyrus. Is that her name? Yes, Miley Cyrus. Her birth name is Destiny Hope Cyrus. Bless. Anyway, she was born on the 23rd of November 1992. Yes, it is the 90s. And she has her Pluto in Scorpio. And she's also got her moon in Scorpio. So her moon, I think she's even got Mercury in Scorpio as well. She's got her Mercury in Scorpio too. So the three of them are very, very close together. Now, praise the Lord, her sun sign is in nice Sagittarius, which is a fire sign, so she could do nice, fluffy Sagittarius, travel the world things. But because her moon is in these deep, dark signs and placements, gosh, she's got a really one-sided chart. She could get terribly, terribly worked up about stuff if she's not feeling the full shebang. And another person whose chart I found, we haven't got a time for her, but her name is Kate Winslet, and she was born in 1975, and she's got her sun and her Pluto and her moon all very close together, and they're all in the sign of Libra. Yes, sun Libra, moon Libra, and Pluto Libra too. So poor thing, she's got the sort of opposite thing to Miley Cyrus. But both of them you'll find, because Pluto's so near to important parts of their chart, they've had some sort of tragedy of some sort and they've managed to survive it. Now, in my chart, I've got Pluto in the first house, and most people that know me think I'm nice and fluffy and lovely and whatever. But I had a friend once say to me, I wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of you, Mary. And I went, oh, I wonder why that is. And I know why. It's because I've got Pluto in my first house. So it's in the sign of Virgo, and I've got a Leo Ascendant, so it's not obvious. But were you to piss me off, excuse my French, you wouldn't live long, because I would make your life terrible, depending on what you've done. You know, if you'd upset one of my children, well, I've got one child, but if you'd upset my child or my dog or something, I would be the bat out of hell type of idea. So Pluto very near to a personal, it's not near to a personal planet in my house, in my chart, it's in the first house, but it's a similar thing. You have to be very aware of the fact that it can cause an awful lot of deep feelings. And we don't want to be having too many deep feelings, because deep feelings can make us feel very disempowered. So if you've got your Pluto and your moon pretty close together, then the remedies for it is to allow yourself to have some deep feelings about stuff, but not to let them become out of control. Because Pluto, too much Pluto going on, can get out of control. So you can get obsessions, you can get addictions, you can get ODD, ADHD, you know, you can get that doing the stuff over and over and over. You need to learn ways to distract yourself from the feelings that you might have. And Donna Cunningham has written a fabulous book called Healing Pluto Problems. So I'm not going to tell you too much about how to resolve it when somebody's already got the solutions for you. So if you Google Donna Cunningham Healing Pluto Problems and you've got a Pluto problem in your chart, that is the place to go. Please go and get that book. It will really, really help you. And as I say, if you are a Scorpio and you were born in the early 90s, late 80s, you are going to have Pluto very near to your sun sign. So those days when you think it's all rubbish and the world's crap and you want to sort of jump ship, distract yourself. Find something that you truly enjoy. Don't focus on the things you don't like. So what else do I need to tell you about Pluto? It looks like a P is the symbol if it's near to a personal planet, and I'm only talking about Moon, Mercury and Sun sign here. It doesn't matter if it's near to your Venus, you're just going to choose boyfriends that are a bit more racy. But near to your Sun sign and your Moon sign, it's going to have a big effect in your chart. If it's in your first house, it'll be there, but it won't be so all-encompassing. It could be square something in your chart, you know, 45 degrees apart, or 100, is it 45? 90 degrees apart, beg your pardon, or 180 degrees opposite. You know, in Rachel's case, she's got an opposition. So it's not as if it affects her all the time. The strength of the feelings are not as much as if they were conjunct, but they will still be there. So go to your chart, find your Pluto, have a look at it, see what's next to it. There might be something next to it, opposite it, at an angle to it. And as I say, if you're an 80s, 90s babe and you're a Scorpio, you need a bit of TLC. If you've got your moon, do you know, when I did a search on there's a lovely website called Astro Theme, so it's ASTROTHEME.com. It's French, and not all of their charts in there are 100% accurate, but it has got a useful system where you can search for Sun conjunct this and that. And I was looking for, there weren't very many Sun conjunct Pluto, so I thought, how strange. So I did another search, this time for Pluto conjunct moon, and 6 pages of charts turned up. It was like, oh my goodness, there's lots of famous people that got that. You know, somebody like Amadeus Mozart, he's got moon conjunct Pluto. Who else have we got on here that you might have heard of? Roman Polanski, only if you're elderly like me, or Edgar Allan Poe, or Sathai Sai Barber, you might have heard of them. Courtney Cox, whoever she is, she's got moon conjunct. Gordon Ramsay, might have heard of him. Ringo Starr from the Beatles, yeah. Rasputin, might have heard of him, he was Russian. Who else have I got on here that you might have heard of? Mark Twain, the writer. Karen Carpenter, you'd have to be a bit older to know about her. But there's an awful lot of famous people over the years that have that. There's probably millions of others, but so there's 6 pages. I'm not going to read them all out for you. And as I say, keeping in mind that the energy of Pluto is about deep change and transformation. So wherever it aspects in your chart, that's where you need to be considering, in what way do I need to change deeply, and where will I be transforming, and what will happen to me. Because it's in the sign of Capricorn at the moment. So anybody that's Capricorn, got moon in Capricorn, Pluto's going to be near those bits of your chart. So you need to be questioning yourself, you know, what do I need to deeply, deeply change? I mean, I've got a friend of mine, her husband is Capricorn, and Pluto started to transit his sun sign, and he got some awful throat cancer. Poor lad. Oh, he's in his 70s. Poor lad, you know, but he had loads of treatment and he survived. But in what way did he need to deeply change and transform his life? Pluto's not about death, don't get me wrong, but it is about deep, deep change. So when Pluto comes along, goes to somewhere into your chart, it's like, what can I change, but on a deep, deep level? You know, do I need to go into psychotherapy? Do I need to, I don't know, go out to India and connect with my guru? What do I need to do to satisfy that sort of obsessive, deep, transforming part of myself? As I say, at the moment it's in the sign of Capricorn, and a lot of the indigos, and we're going to be talking about indigos in a future episode, a lot of indigos will have Uranus and Neptune in the sign of Capricorn. Okay, so that's where they were when you were born. Is that right? Uranus and Neptune. Yes. And now Pluto will be in that sign. So all of you 90s born babes, so you're born in the 90s, Pluto's going to come along and go poof onto your Uranus and your Neptune. So you're going to be doing a lot of those "what am I here for" questions. So 90s born babes, there's going to be a certain amount of questioning why you're here and what it's all about. But don't worry, it doesn't last forever. It'll be in Capricorn for about, I think it's about something like another 5 or 6 years. But it's a long, long transit. Get the book by Richard Tarnas. Read all about Cosmos and Psyche, about how the outer planets are reflective of what we do as generations of people, because, you know, things like the 60s and stuff, that was all to do with Uranus and Pluto, whatever it was aspect, I can't remember now, but there was, I think it was a conjunction, that was it, yes, early 60s, there was a Pluto-Uranus conjunction, that's why there was so much flower power. And then the opposite side of that was all the bombings and, Vietnam and horrible things like that. It reflects a generational feelings, and it's amazing. He's tracked the what we as human beings have been doing in response to, or in tandem to what these planets are up to. And that's when I was thinking, astrology is amazing, absolutely amazing. It's just incredible. You can't ignore it. Can't get worked up here. If you want to learn a bit more about Scorpio, because that's the sign of the zodiac that Pluto looks after, I have written a book, and it's called How to Win the Trust of a Scorpio. All my books are available on Amazon. Do get one. It will help you learn about your own sign of the zodiac. It tells you in there how to make your chart on astro.com. Explains all about the houses. and your sun or your moon being in the various different houses, and a little bit, how to get on better with whatever sign of the zodiac you are or the people that are around you. So, if you're dating someone, get the book for their sign, and you'll understand a bit more about astrology. My next book, which is the Astrology of Lovers, that'll be out very soon. I'm nearly there, but I will tell you all about it, but that'll be in a later episode. So have a fab week, slightly longer this week because we're learning about Pluto, and I'll speak to you next week. Have a good one. Bye bye now.